Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Welcome back. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever in the world you're joining from. Welcome back to our second Open Source Friday of the day. What a treat. I get to hang out with you all today. So, my name is Andrea, a Colombia dev in all places. If you're new to this stream, thank you for being here. Welcome. Open Source Friday is our GitHub hosted and sponsored. Thank you, boss event. We host it weekly on Fridays. My team, Mr. Kevin Crosby and Ms. Kadesha Kerr, and myself, Andrea Griffiths, we get to showcase open source projects that are doing amazing work out there. And we get to talk to contributors, maintainers, founders. On occasion, we actually have some companies that had built a top open source. So those are really interesting conversations. And today's conversation, I think, is timely, and I think you are all going to enjoy. Before we get started and bring our guests in, I'd love to know where you're joining from. David, you're new. Welcome. You found your place, David. This is it. This is where you get to come and learn about open source and share about the projects that you like. And I'm going to do one thing that I have not done in a moment, actually, and that is I'm going to share our repository here, because this is the way that you can actually be a part of Open Source Friday. So whether it's for a project that is your project, or you are one of the maintainers, you're a contributor, you think, you know what, there is this really cool project and it deserves a spotlight, you too can be on Open Source Friday. So just head on down to this repository, please. There is some minimum criteria that we ask so that we continue to bring you like super quality guests and projects. But take a look. And if you feel like the criteria is met by your project, if you want to be a part of this, open an issue and we'll do our little triage and get a hold of you. But it's pretty straightforward process. Bear with us in our calendar because it's a little bit busy. But hello from Spain. Hola. Welcome from St. Louis. Welcome from Uganda, from the UK, and from Germany. I am so excited. We have such a good audience from all over the world today. Well, I think regardless of where you're joining from, I'm sure, we will have to be completely detached from this world we're living in now, but you've probably heard about AI agents. You've probably been using AI agents or trying at least to incorporate that into your workflows. And it's a conversation that it could be controversial. Everyone has their opinions about it. Regardless of how you feel about AI and agents, we're here to shine a spotlight on projects that are doing good open source work to improve the way that we work. So if you're here because you're curious about it, you're in the right place. And the project today is a project that's highly and deeply focused into this world. If you have been experimented with some of the latest trends of like personal assistant and workflow automation using agentic workflows or using agents, you probably have struggled with the topic of memory. It's kind of one of the biggest challenges and the next frontier, I think, in order to get these agents to do the things I would really want them to do. Our Copilot Coding Agent actually just launched a memory feature. There's some preview now, and you can turn it on now. So Copilot remembers everything that you're doing and helps you work more like you, right? Or help it help you. In any case, the project today is Honcho, which is a memory library for building stateful AI agents. It's built by a company called Plastic Labs, and it's got a really interesting premise of treating memory not just as data storage, but more as a problem of inference and logical reasoning. So if you are in this space, get ready to geek out because we have a treat for you. I'm excited and pleased to welcome Abigail and Mr. Vinith. Hello, welcome to Open Source Friday. Thank you for being here.
Hey, thanks for having us. We're excited to be here.
Thank you. And I think you're joining. I'm going to actually pass the baton to each of you so you can introduce yourself. Tell me where you're joining from and what you do at Honcho. Maybe let's kick it off with you, Abigail.
Yeah, totally. I'm Abigail. I'm the developer relations engineer here at Plastic Labs, and we're based here in New York, which I'm coming from the office here. And we've been working really closely with our product Honcho, and I'm really excited to demo it today.
Exciting. And Vinith.
Yeah, hi, I'm Vineeth, one of the co-founders and CTO here at Plastic Labs. Also calling from the office. Abigail is just in a different room over there. Yeah, really excited to talk about Honcho and show off a bunch of our use cases here.
Amazing. Well, I'm excited to start with you actually with the main question, which is like, what kind of problem were you trying to solve? I know this is new to some of us. So what core problems were there with existing AI memory models? Like, what's Honcho trying to solve? How was this idea born?
Yeah. So the story goes back a while, actually. I think maybe 2.5, 3 years now. But basically, when ChatGPT came out, Sam Altman was saying like every student has a tutor in their pocket, and Plastic Labs actually started as like an AI tutoring company. So a lot of members on the team came from like education backgrounds or higher education, and we kind of realized, like your best teachers in life weren't the ones that just like knew the curriculum by the back of their hand. It was the ones that like actually got to know you, understood what your strengths were, what your weaknesses were, and could like match the curriculum to your needs. So when we were building this tutor, we spent all this time building this like personalization infrastructure and engine that could build like high fidelity representations of every student to match their needs. And then we took a step back, kind of looked at all the builders around us who were also building agents, and we saw that everyone was kind of running into the same failure modes. And we realized like this is just like a much bigger opportunity, bigger problem space. So we pivoted very, very quickly into Honcho, which is this, like you said, stateful library for building agents that have deep understanding of every single person, entity, other agent that they're talking to so that they can serve their needs perfectly.
I mean, I love the stories where they include a pivot that you figure out there was a need for something that was even bigger than what you were working on, but having that origin education dear and near to my heart. That's amazing. All right. So can you elaborate a little bit about what some of the practical, I guess, use cases for Honchos are? Because it's no longer just for chat, right? Like that's kind of how like the origin was, but it's beyond that.
Yeah. So, and this is kind of like even core to how Honcho is built. If you look at some of our primitives, we have this idea of peers, which was something that came from us kind of running against this issue of like most language models having this user assistant paradigm, which didn't really match to a lot of like use cases of how people were building agents in general. So you can obviously use it for like your chat applications, your companions, your customer support bots, but also in a lot of these like coding agents. So Abigail is going to show off a Claude Code plugin that we use to kind of let coding agents understand your preferences and kind of your style. Long running agents, your open clause, your deep agents, your nanobots, your whatever is the new thing of the day, that are running long tasks so that they can understand what they've done before, what has worked, what hasn't worked. They can surgically manage their own context windows. They can automatically update their own soul.md or identity.md files and actually be these adaptive agents that learn and change over time rather than kind of just like a static experience that has like a very baked in system prompt.
Absolutely. And there is absolutely nothing more frustrating than having to repeat yourself. Like that's like the biggest pet peeve of mine. And it's a challenge, like especially when you're first setting up with the system. So love to learn a little bit more about the long tail, right, Abigail? What you're gonna show us today, how this can be set up. I don't know if we're ready to start screen sharing and then maybe we can get
I'm
right
happy
into
to.
demos. That'd be amazing.
Yeah,
And
let's do it.
while Abigail gets set up with the screen share, for those of you who are tuning in and watching, if you have any questions at any point, please drop them in the comments and I will bring them up. But I'm excited to see this. All right, I see your screen. Perfect.
Okay, I'm gonna show it first with the Claude bot. With Open Claude, I don't think I can make the Telegram chat any bigger, but
I think that's fine. Yeah,
it's readable.
Fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have my Claude bot over here on the right, and I've just been chatting with it in Telegram. And then I'm watching the logs here so you can kind of see what happens in action. And I'm going to show like all of this where it's already set up and like kind of how I'm using it. And this is the Honcho, interface that I'll also show with it. And then I'll back up and kind of give some more background of like how to set this up and like exploring it. But I wanted to start off with it in action first because that's pretty fun. Okay, so I've already been chatting with my bot like quite a bit, and so it already has like a good amount of context on me. So I'm just going to ask it to use the one of its Honcho tools that has available to it, which is search. Use the Honcho search tool to pull out my favorite tech stack, and it will give us the results here. And over here, this is just how I like to monitor my OpenClaw to kind of see what it's doing. So we're running the logs. And it takes just a minute because it's running on a droplet. But as context, Honcho is saving these messages right now that I'm communicating with my Clawbot in real time. But we see it just triggered the search tool here. And so we'll get the results in just a second. Now that's triggered it. And so this is just one of like the many tools that we give it available to pull information from. And this is like without Honcho, like the memory system that it has is just like a bunch of markdown files, which work. But if you've been using any of these bots like significantly, you'll start to feel kind of the need for something that's a little bit more advanced, because markdown files just are not sufficient. They don't give you enough. And then, okay, perfect. Yeah. So it gave back my primary text app, what I prefer for quick scripts.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's its response right there. And then we can check and see what's going on behind the scenes kind of on the Honcho.dev platform. So within here, I have a workspace for my OpenClaw. And I have a session specifically for this Telegram chat. All of this happens like behind the scenes with our plugin. So then I didn't need to do any of this manually. But then we'll see the messages here. So it's saving the messages here from our conversation just in the background. And then I can also, trigger that same search here if I want to. Or I can, talk to it with the chat functionality. Here, let me make this bigger. And talk to my peer. So we'll see here, like what Vinith was talking to earlier, we have these two peers. We have my agent, which is called Agent Prime, and then we have myself, which is the owner. And then our conversations are within these sessions. So that's kind of like it in action. And I know that was a lot of information. So I'm happy to step back here.
No, this is super interesting. I mean, it's like a command center of sorts, but with memory.
So yeah, maybe let's just back up and like talk about some of the primitives, because I know this is a lot of information on the screen. So, the top level thing here is a workspace. That's just, a namespace for all of your resources. And then within that, you have your peers. So there's a peer for Abigail, which is the owner, and then a peer for the agent itself. And that lets us basically like segment the memory and identity to the proper, like we're able to attribute data to the right entity, right? So when Abigail sends a message, it updates the representation of Abigail. When the OpenClaw instance is sending messages and acting, it updates its own representation. And then sessions, very similar to kind of like your ChatGPT sessions on the left, just kind of contains spaces for conversations between peers. And I guess one other thing I'll note here is that a session can have as many peers as you want. It's not just restricted to two people. So that kind of gives you a little more power here, where you can have group chats, you can have multi-agent sessions, you can have agent sub-agent kind of patterns going. And what you see here in the big screen on the right, the conclusions, this is kind of the superpower of Honcho. So as data is stored in Honcho in these sessions, we have this background process called like a reasoning engine that is exhaustively reasoning against all of the data put into Honcho to extract all of the latent information, and using that to update our model of each of the peers. So Andrea, you teased this at the front, but this is what makes Honcho really different. We treat memory as not just like a storage and retrieval task where you just run RAG against your messages and sessions, but we're actually using language models to extract as much data as possible and put it into a format that's more token efficient and consumable by LLMs. This is powered on the cloud version of Honcho by some custom language models that we've created here at Plastic Labs called the Neuromancer models. But when you're running it open source, you can slot in whatever language model you want.
So I could run it, the open source version I can run locally, right?
Yeah,
totally. Okay, and I can also bring my own model to that.
Yep, you can use any local model, any cloud provider. whatever.
Okay, this is amazing. So besides my simplistic way of putting it, like I'm sick of repeating myself, right? What's some of the advantage, I guess, of thinking about it? Because it's all data, right? But you mentioned a really good point, Abigail. Like Markdown files were not designed to do this. So if you've been trying to keep, like, even in the way that the LLMs are going to consume it, like the agents are going to try and parse it. Like now there's just recently been another study that if you go over, I don't know how many characters, then you start losing, it actually gets convoluted and it will slow down what you're trying to, it's not, RAG is not efficient, and not when you're doing like pages upon pages of instructions. So thinking about it as inference, I guess, is a bit different. That segmentation that you're doing per peer, that's also really interesting because there's no way to do that really when you're working with an agent. I've been dabbling a little bit on the OpenClaw ecosystem, trying to set up, and I have my little 5 or 6 little orchestrator thingies going around there, working on different things. Super interesting. I've actually done something similar where I can call all of them and have them talk to each other, but it's very kind of complex tunneling, and they each have their own memory. There's no way for me to actually have this kind of what you just show, where you can actually have them act as peers, me being one of the peers, and then the agents being part of that conversation. That is super, super interesting.
No, it works well with the multi-agent setups as well, because each of the agents you have on OpenClaw can be modeled by Honcho because they are individual in terms of personality. Like if you edit the any of their like identity files or just the way you interact with them is different, then Honcho will reflect that. So it is cool to have the infrastructure to be able to support targeted memory for each of the different agents that you build with OpenClaw or whatever you're building with.
I love this. Since you have the open source, how old is Honcho? How old since you launched the project itself?
2.5 years. It's been a while. We definitely take a research approach to everything. So a lot of evals, a lot of testing, a lot of iteration on it. But it's been around for a while.
I love that. But then the models that are actually powering that inference and treating memory the way that you're treating it now, those are yours, right? Like those are models that you created specifically for it. Could you say more about that? That's super interesting.
Yeah. So I think Abigail here is pulling up the model card, but this task of extracting like useful molecular propositions, that's the terminology we use, but it is definitely like a very specific task. There's a lot of nuance to how you do it, right? If I'll give you one example is like if you're using ChatGPT and you paste an excerpt from a book, should the model think that you wrote the book, or should it realize that this is unimportant information and not attribute it to you and attribute it to something else? There's a lot of nuance in understanding what's useful data, what's not useful data. Is the person talking about someone else? Are they using a nickname when they're referring to someone? So there's just so many different like failure modes that can occur here. And if you want to use like, a small model to kind of understand all those nuances, it's going to get really pricey real fast. So we're able to kind of run Honcho very cheaply by having these small custom fine-tuned models that can manage these tasks.
That is a really excellent point that you bring up, and actually a larger conversation. I'm putting together a group. I'll reach out to you because I do want to talk about the cost of doing this kind of work. I actually like seeing from my position of privilege that I don't have to worry about token count so much because GitHub pays for my tokens. But on my own personal projects, I take a much more mindful and thoughtful approach on what I'm spending on what. So beyond obviously making the tool everything that you need it to be and being able to work with it in a more dynamic way, you're going to save a ton of like your money, your tokens right here. I don't know if you've done any studies on like what that actually looks like.
So yeah, we have some evals here that Abigail's also bringing up, but we do see like a big gain in token efficiency with Honcho as well. I don't know. This is just like showing that Honcho is really good at evals, but yeah, 50.
Oh, there's a calculator on here that shows like the token, like how Honcho uses less tokens for these like large eval tests. That's like one example.
Yeah, so roughly 50 to 60% token efficiency in terms of like just your raw API calls. But then also like Honcho is managing all this reasoning on your behalf. So you're not paying directly for those tokens, right? we're able to reason and extract the data. And then we also have this this submodule loop called dreaming, which is essentially a continuous task that Honcho is always running to synthesize information across sessions, right? So if you say something in one session, say something in another session, you say something to one peer, you talk to another peer, we can kind of like constantly keep pruning and improving the fidelity of the data for your peer so that it just gets better and better over time, even if you're not sending it new information to correct it or update it.
That's amazing. Oh, I'm going to link this to, actually, it's on the website. So all you have to do is go to evals.honcho.dev, but let me link it on the chat so people can take a look at that. If you geek out over these evals, like this will be interesting data for you. But okay, let's talk about how we actually use this in practice, right? Like, is there an SDK? Can I bring this into what I'm building? Like, could you say more about what you've seen folks using it? And then if there's another demo, please, by all means, like, let's see it.
Yeah, we have another demo, or we can talk about that. I was going to show another demo with our Claude Code plugin as well.
Oh, yeah, let's see that. And then we'll talk about SDKs and how people can start plugging it in. Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, yeah, let's do that.
And folks, if you're
quickly,
watching...
while Abigail...
Yeah, go for it.
We do have a Python and a TypeScript SDK. Both of those are also open source. It's all in like the Honcho monorepo. And Honcho itself is basically implemented via like an open API like spec, right? So you can hit it with API calls. There's an MCP server for it. So plenty of ways to plug into the ecosystem.
Yeah, totally.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Okay. Honcho.dev. Okay, so over here on the right, let me make this bigger. I have, I'm going to be working with the Claude Honcho plugin. So that's the folder that we're already in, and I'll just open up Claude. And you'll see here, I have like some memory graphics here. This is it pulling directly from Honcho, but it's happening async. And in the same way that the Claude bot was saving messages to Honcho async, it's doing the same thing here as well. So if I just say like, hey, what were we working on last? Use Honcho. It will use the Honcho tool to pull like what the last messages that, you know.
I see that.
Yeah, it's using the MCP query right now, but we also, because the plugin also gives us tool call access. And then you also see here that it injected some conclusions from my peer. So it starts off with some information right off the bat. So yeah, it's talking about some config work that we've done recently, which is great. And then if I just, here, let me make this bigger again. So we're right now on Aries branch. And if I'm just going to show like one example of it pulling context outside of Claude Code 2. So if we're in here and we'll just check out main. Yeah, and we'll just be in the, so we'll be in main now. And then if I start up Claude again, it will have recorded the like out of Claude Code change of like me switching branches. So it keeps track of some of those like those changes that you make and get outside of Claude Code to like add more context as well.
I love this. I would challenge you to create a plugin for the Copilot CLI as well. So that,
yeah, totally. Yeah,
and I don't know if is it already out, or is that something that someone can contribute? That would be a fun problem to like tackle on a weekend for somebody.
It's definitely something someone can contribute. We have a lot of open issues on the repo for just like more integrations for Honcho into other plugin ecosystems.
Yes.
One thing I wanted to call out there is if you saw in the trace for what Claude was doing, I don't know if we can resume that old session. It used a chat function. And part of the design of Honcho is we really wanted it to be AI native, right? It's a tool for developers, but it should also be a tool for agents kind of moving forward. We thought of this 2 years ago when coding models weren't this good, but now they clearly are. But the idea is that like we don't want just like a bunch of different calls for pulling insights in very structured ways. We want it to be very dynamic and anti-fragile. So what you can do is actually just in natural language, ask a question to Honcho of like whatever information you need, right? Like how are they feeling today? What's their learning style? And what that does is it kicks off an agent in Honcho to kind of traverse all of the different data in there and synthesize the perfect answer for you. So, if you're talking to your assistant and the assistant doesn't really know how to answer a question, it can kind of back channel with Honcho to figure out the exact information it needs and then serve your needs.
Abigail, can you show us what that looks like on the actual, what do we call is it a dashboard or the
platform site? Yeah, totally. If we look at our Claude Honcho session, so we'll see that like it just saved like a bunch of the messages that we were just having here. So we can see it like use the tool to call the MCP server. And it also saved my messages. You'll notice that they're like a little bit out of order. And part of that has to do with the plugin structure, like how we're interfacing with Claude Code. But it's to Honcho, it's not that big of a deal. And this happens all in the background too. So we can see it here, just saving all those messages. And then what Vineeth was talking about with being able to talk to it.
So if you get up here.
Chat. Oh, sure.
Sort of like that cross session, but it's cross session, cross agent, right? Like that's
so all these sessions are like other repos that I have been working on. So you'll see like our cursor plugin we've also been working on recently. And then, just like Honcho in general, or this was another GitHub project. So those are all going to be sessions with my Claude Code history in them. But it's the same peer across all of them. So when I chat with the peer, it has like contextualized all the information across all those different contexts.
This is fascinating. Okay. So you're able to, let's see.
We'll chat with it and see what it pulls up. This is kind of like a generic question, so I'm not sure exactly how useful it'll be, but
but it's very cool to be able to see like actually what it looks like in the background. And like, how are you storing all of this? Like what makes this? Is this like Postgres? Like where is it at?
Yeah, totally. We can definitely go into our stack.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah. So
came back with some results here.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty, like, basically, we've seen you ask the question earlier, what was your tech stack? So yeah, this is very, very monolithic, very cool. And this is based obviously on the way that you work with your tools, not just with one specific agent. Very cool.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, so that's our little demo again of using Honcho inside of Claude Code. But yeah, we could definitely dig into the actual what's going on behind the scenes in terms of how we're storing data and etc.
I love that. I love to understand that better. Yeah, please.
Okay, I'll stop sharing and I'll let Vineeth dig into that.
Let me just pull up the code, I guess. But one other thing I wanted to like touch on there was like you saw that we had a workspace for OpenClaw and we had a workspace for Claude Code, but depending on how you set up your peers and your workspaces, you could actually bridge all that information together, right? So we have a couple workspaces here at the company where all of us use the same workspace for all of our Claude codes. So we can share context between like different members of the team. So I can be like, hey, what was Abigail working on? What was she trying to do with these changes? What was my OpenClaw doing here? So you can easily make your memory portable between applications, but also between team members. In terms of the tech stack, I don't have a ton of great diagrams for this, but I can just go through the code.
This is beautiful. Listen, folks, for all of you mermaid folks out there, Scala Draw people, go contribute some diagrams. I love that. Opportunity for contribution here. And whoever does this Copilot CLI contribution, DM me. I'm trying to not nurse night myself into another project, but please DM me. I'll support you. And we have some comments coming up. I also shared the documentation as well as one of the links that I've shared. So please, folks, make sure that you're bookmarking this and don't forget to go back and start the repo. Let me quickly address this comment. And thank you, Frank, for being here. Been building a job search MCP server with Fast. Hey, I'm a big fan of the Fast API, Fast MCP. And the stateless context problem is exactly what he keeps running into sessions. Beautiful. There you go. So can't wait to see what you do with Honcho and bring it into. And after we take a look at the the tech, we'll talk a little bit about how people can build it into whatever they're building. So stay here, Frank. You're in the right place.
Awesome. Okay, am I sharing my screen?
Yes,
All right,
yes. Perfect.
Okay, perfect. So this is the Honcho repo. It's basically just one big monorepo where we have docs, code, SDKs, everything. And the main tech stack is we use Python with Fast API for the actual API. And we use SQL Alchemy with Postgres for a lot of our database operations. We have support for multiple different vector DB backends, so pgvector, turbopuffer, LanceDB. And the way that we do storage is kind of like a combination of both messages in just a Postgres database, vector DB calls, and kind of just like static text documents. So I can do a quick run through of the different modules here. But basically, we have our routers with all the different routes for the different primitives. We have our background process, which internally we call the deriver because it's constantly deriving information about you. This basically is another service that is constantly running, reading from a queue of different tasks and updating a representation of each of the peers. So you can see here, like we have a little queue. The queue is actually just another Postgres table. We use like a skip flag kind of setup there. We're big subscribers of the just use Postgres until you need something else kind of model.
I love that.
Yeah. So the way you deploy this is like you run a bunch of different services from the top level of the repo. So you can run a container with Fast API. You can run a container with the queue. You can run a container with, actually, those are the main two. Or run your database locally. Here's also like the dreaming agent. So there's an orchestrator that is kind of like a top level entry point that just runs these dreaming agents. And just to kind of show off kind of how you can run it locally, we have this Docker Compose template. So you can build this as like a Docker container, run the API, run an instance of the driver. Here's like a local database to just run that has pgvector in it so that you can use like a local vector database. And then we also use Redis for caching. And there's a Grafana instance here if you just want to like monitor some of the analytics. Also have this fly.toml file if you want to like run an instance of Honcho on fly. So you can see here we spin up two services, the API and then the deriver.
This is beautiful.
Anything you want me to dig in on?
Well, actually, besides the way that your architecture is laid out here, I wanted to ask about the models that you're using too. Just what besides, of course, your Neuromancer, besides your own model, it'd be interesting. I'd love to understand how you're kind of spreading that. Like, are you using? Is there one? Because I know the Neuromancer model, like it has a very specific role, and it's more about the deriving and dreaming. If I'm, please correct me if I misunderstood. But like, are there other models that are powering everything else? Are you sending different tasks to different models? And then we could talk about how when you run it locally, like how that works in practice.
Totally. Yeah. So we have this like big configuration system. I think there's actually like a sample TOML file here, but you can configure a lot of different features within Honcho for your local setup. And the way we run it on our cloud platform is like based on a bunch of experimentation. So we're constantly running these evals. Basically, every time we commit to main, we kick off a suite of eval runs, and based on like the scores and different like heuristics, we're constantly changing what models are running under the hood to like optimize for cost, speed, performance. But we do have some like defaults built in here. So I think for the driver, like using Gemini, just for like a quick, cheap model. For the dialectic, that's that chat model. So we have different like reasoning levels depending on if it's like a quick kind of just like RAG kind of query or something that requires like a lot of synthesis. So, some of the higher levels use Claude Haiku with just more like iteration loops. So this is kind of if you when you see like Claude code and you ask it a question, it like, does a bunch of greps and it does a bunch of, web searches. Like these are just like tools that it's allowed to call. And this is kind of just to like constrain it so it doesn't like go wild. We have like a summarization process. So the default here is Gemini 2.5 Flash. The dreaming is using Claude Haiku. But, I think there's just so many new models coming out, so many different ways to evaluate it that you could probably like fine tune a setup very specifically for your use case, depending on like what models you find to be better for that. The beauty of this like configuration file is like you can kind of fine tune and configure anything you want. You just need to manage a lot of different values.
Yeah, no, but I love listen, I'm all about developer choice, right? Like you get to make those decisions for yourself, what model you want to use for what. That's very, very cool. Okay, let's talk about building. I want to start using this. How can I do it? What can I do?
Yeah, so I mean, I think one of the easiest ways to get started is we do have a skill that can teach your coding agent how to integrate Honcho into an existing product. I wonder, is that on the doc? Yeah, that's on the docs.
So, beautiful. Yeah. This is one thing that I'm absolutely loving about working with agents like this, that you can just point it to a skill and tell it, go load it up. Where is it at? It's, here it is. Perfect.
Yeah, if you're on the docs, you can actually just go, we have a vibe coding setup page. So all of our docs are accessible via like LLMs.txt, thanks to Mintlify, but here's our Cloud Code plugin. And then you can also just run npx skills add Plastic Labs / Honcho. And that gives you access to skills that help you integrate Honcho, but also skills that help you like update your SDKs if you're ever on like an older version.
Very cool. Okay, so listen, you don't even have to do anything yourself. Just go point your agent to it, and then it looks like it'll go ahead and get to work for you. Okay, and then in terms of the project itself and it being an open source project, also besides folks that wanna help me, folks in the chat, if you have questions about actually working with the project, let me know. But I do want to ask about how people can get involved with the project itself too, and look a little bit about like what your contribution path is, because I feel like we're gonna nerd snipe a lot of people today, and they're gonna be playing this weekend.
Yeah, so I can go back to sharing the Honcho repo.
Perfect. And there is some questions in the chat about expenses, and this might be, we'll see if about thinking about percentages of spend on inference versus state management for inference. That sounds like a good paper for one of you to write about your approach as you're building Honcho, how you're thinking about it. So I don't know. I think it's a problem that we'll have to think about it, but we're on the repo now. Beautiful.
Yeah. Okay, I'll go through the issues and then I'll answer that question. So we do just have like a couple open issues to like kind of allow Honcho to integrate into more platforms. So more API provider or model providers. So I think right now we support a lot like OpenAI, Anthropic, OpenRouter, VLLM. But if you want to use Quen directly, or if you want to use Cerebras or Grok, like definitely a lot of room there. I think also supporting a higher diversity of data types. So we support a couple different file types, I think text files and PDFs, but kind of improving those. And the biggest thing is like integrations, right? So we have a bunch of different plugins and integrations on our docs already, but there's just so many new projects spinning up every day that could use memory. So you can actually see here someone made an issue from them just integrating Honcho into some other project, and I think it actually says like no action, just wanted to let you know. So this is great. Like this is what I want to see. But yeah, I think integrations, support of more kind of model providers, and really just like, there's a lot of open room here for just like iterating on evals, understanding different use cases, and using that to like iterate on the performance of Honcho.
Beautiful. Okay. And then, I mean, I'm sure there is documentation there, like a contributing guide too.
Mhm.
But folks, like, take a look at that. And then I'm also going to share your Discord servers link so that folks can go ahead and take a look at that. And let me make sure I got it. Oh, it's super simple. It's just discord.gg/Honcho. Let me send this here too, because I think that that would also probably be another good starting point. I'm assuming folks from the team are in there too.
Yeah,
Talking to
we're pretty
users.
much always there, so ping us anytime.
Okay, awesome. So join the Discord, start the repo. What kind of contributions? I know you gave us like a super great overview of the issues that are currently open. In terms of your roadmap, like what's coming up next that you think like that would be a good call out to get folks to come in and maybe participate that way, or if there's anything that you're working on now that you want to share, like that'd be awesome.
Yeah, so I mean, we're always working on it in the open, so you can kind of get a sense for what's happening based on just like the pull requests that are going on. But we're looking to add like a workspace level chat that lets you just ask questions at the workspace overall. So bridging together multiple different peers. We're looking to kind of improve the dreaming and like the agents that run within Honcho. So splitting up the tool coddling model and the actual like synthesis model. I think there's a lot of experimentation being done on the dreaming agent. So to see like different approaches there to, how often they should run, what different tasks they should do, the different types of tool calls that they could be making. So just across the board within Honcho, I think every single module is getting attention to some degree to like keep making it more efficient and more powerful.
Amazing. I love this. Okay. So if you're thinking about this is a problem that you have and you want to start working actively towards it, you can contribute to the project. There were a couple of questions on the chat, and I think Abigail, thank you so much for answering some of the questions too. Questions about price. This is Open Source Friday, but it's not free like FreeBeer, right? So you can self-host Honcho for free. Of course you can. The entire code base is open source. So just clone the repo, spin it up, bring your own API, LLM API keys, and then you can get to work. You also offer a managed instance, which is dig into the company so you can see how you can do that if you want to. But then earlier, before we actually went live, you told me about this program you have for startups. Can you share a little bit about that? Because that's been my favorite thing that I heard today.
Yeah. So for anyone who wants to use like and just get started with Honcho, you can sign up, and we set everyone up with $100 of credits to start with. That will get you a lot of mileage. But if you're a startup, just email us and we can give you another $1,000 of credits to really play around with, grow into it, and push the limits of what you can do there.
Beautiful. So I get $100 regardless, but if I'm a startup, I can apply for more. I love that. I love that. Okay. So you can email hello@plasticlabs.ai. And if you're a startup, take advantage of this, especially if you're building with agents. Like, it's unbelievable. What a good opportunity for you to make use of that program. And there were a couple of other links that you've shared with me. And I want to know, Penny, for your thoughts.ai.
Oh, yeah. So this was a little experiment that we ran here. I can...
Please share, because I just clicked on it and what is this beauty? What is this?
Yeah. So one thing we love to do at the team is 20% projects, which is just 20% of your time just spend on some idea that you have. Mm-hmm. And this kind of came out of one of those jam sessions when the X402 protocol came out that was talking about how you can let agents kind of without API keys call different APIs. And we had this fun idea here of what if you can just quickly, use an agent to interview you, and I can talk to this assistant, and it builds a model of me as a person gathering my expertise into an agent with using Honcho. And then I can just quickly like set up a little price for how much it costs to ask me a question. And then we have these public links where you can connect a wallet using X402 and just like 4 pennies, ask an expert for their advice on whatever they're good at. So you can see here, there's like a leaderboard and these are the prices that different people have. And I can just like click on one of these and ask them a question. So, using Honcho, you can quickly clone up your expertise and make yourself superhuman by, federating yourself across the world. I don't know if I actually have any
This
money
is
here, but
so cool. This is the new economy, friend. This
so
is
yeah, this is
very
the
cool.
expert in vibe marketing.
Mhm.
How should I market Honcho? I don't know that this product has been given a lot of love since we put it out there, but if you go on plasticlabs.ai, you'll see like we have a bunch of like little games and projects that we've made over the years.
I love that kind of giving the opportunity for people to like go and build something just extra for fun. That's so cool. That's a good approach. What's it saying? It's thinking, okay.
Yeah, we'll see.
So meta. How should you?
I have not looked at the deployment of this in a long time, so this could 100% break.
I mean, no, but it's really cool. It's really, really cool. And so there are other experiments also on the website. I'm gonna share the website one more time so folks can go in and take a look.
Yeah, another one we have is Honcho Chat, which is like a chat interface that you can chat with Honcho and like build your context in that way. So that was fun to build. And it's similar to, like using Claude or
It won't
ChatGPT, but it
buy.
has Honcho.
Yeah.
I think it's saying I either don't have enough money for it or
Yeah.
something on the crypto side failed.
Yeah.
It looks like it's not Honcho that failed. So I'll look at that over the weekend.
There you go.
Yeah,
More work. And then
more work.
I share the link to Honcho Chat as well. So if folks want to take a look and experiment with that, but this is really, really, really cool and really interesting. Are any of these projects, are the repos share as well, or they're more like for your internal experimentation?
So I think penny for your thoughts, just because there's like some financial logic in there, we haven't open sourced that. And
Yeah.
I think with Honcho Chat, like we want to clean it up a little before it's open sourced. But the idea here is like we just wanted to create an opinionated chat experience that shows off like the power of Honcho. So it's one big session. You can actually bring your own API keys and use this yourself. And then you can kind of visualize the representation of you that Honcho is making. So I think like we have this little graphic here that kind of
that's
shows
cool.
the different conclusions, both explicit and deductive, and shows how it evolves over time. And then there's some like features in here that let you make artifacts, which similar to like Claude artifacts where you can like make little games. So I think I have this like tic-tac-toe game. And then you can share them with other people across like the platform.
Very cool. Very cool. And how do you OAuth into this? Is it I missed the bit where you came in. Oh, is it just
I think I was just already logged in, but yeah, you can just sign up for an account. You can either bring your own API keys or we do let you subscribe just to use a model under the hood. And you can also import your chats from ChatGPT or Claude if you want it to have that context in there.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, you have a lot of things happening. But all this power, of course, by Honcho. Very, very, very cool. Neat. For folks who are like maybe a little bit overwhelmed with, because there's a lot of information, right? Are there any other resources that you can share with us, like to get started? Your documentation looks super like well thought out, so it looks very kind of like straightforward and clear. But anything in particular you think people might find useful that we can share?
I think the docs are a great place to start to just get an understanding of Honcho. But if you're unclear on how to get started building, or you have an idea and you're unsure if like Honcho fits, just join the Discord. We're happy to help you build. If you have an idea, we can help you map it to Honcho primitives and just iterate from there.
Beautiful. And thank you, Abigail, for sharing the different QR codes. So I'm gonna put it one more time in the chat as well. So friends, just go ahead and join the Discord, and you can also follow honcho.dev on X. But this has been a very, very interesting. This is gonna take a lot of discipline for me to not spend the rest of my day playing with it. Like, very cool, very, very cool. So I love to know, if you actually do end up having community contributions from folks that watch the stream, please let me know. I'm gonna one more time do my call to you nerds out there. GitHub CLI is free. You can install it now. Install it using Homebrew, install it using Winged, install it however you want it. Go ahead and create a plugin and submit that PR. Read the documentation, see how you can contribute. But I'll definitely personally send you a little something. So I love to nurse up someone to doing that for those plugins. And then what a great use case. Like, I really love everything that you show us today. That Penny for your thoughts concept. You have a fan here. Thanks for being here, Krusty. I love that. I'm gonna dig into it because that looked cool. That looked cool. I think like I can say the idea that our memory and our talents can be put out there in this way is very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. Anything else that you both would like to share before we wrap up?
I think we're covered about everything. We're excited to see what people build with Honcho. It's certainly a fun thing to build with, and you can run it open source, or you can use the $100 credits that we give you, which will last you a long time. But we're just excited to see what people build.
Yeah, if anyone out there wants to build a Honcho plays Pokemon where you can talk to the agent and try to influence it, I've been trying to get the team to build that forever, and no one here will listen to me. So that's my one call to action.
I love that. Listen, today is like the 38-year anniversary of Pokemon, or it's
something like
yeah,
that,
it is today, right? Like, it's either today or this weekend. I saw that popping up. So listen, we're gonna have to solve the hard problems, but then you gotta have fun with it too. So
Exactly.
amazing. So join the Discord. People are already joining the Discord and introducing themselves and sharing what they're working on. That's amazing. Thank you for being frank. People liked you both. They want to go work for you. Are you hiring? What's the best way to get a job at Plastic Labs? Any tips on that? And then we'll close there.
So we're always having all of our job openings are on our blog. So if you go to blog.plasticlabs.ai, you can read more about how we think about things, and if we have job openings, we put them on there. But also, if you think you'd be a great fit, just email us and we can see if there's a role that we can make.
Love that. There you go. And then final question, how about doing some hackathons anytime soon?
So, I mean, hackathons are near and dear to my heart. That's how I got into coding, is through hackathons. So we're definitely involved in a lot of hackathons in and around New York. So if you're in New York, be on the lookout for us, but definitely looking to kind of expand our reach to more and more hackathons as we're growing, whether that be online ones or more in-person ones or across the country and world.
There you go. And folks, for you who are actively building, or you're thinking you have this startup idea and you're thinking, well, I really want to power this, don't sleep on the offer of the $1,000 credits for startups. Join the Discord and start. It looks like there's going to be some really cool builders having conversations in there, so you want to be a part of this. Amazing. Thank you both so much for joining Open Source Friday. It's been a fun conversation and learned a ton.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us.
Thank you. So we're going to say goodbye to Miss Abigail and Mr. Vineeth. I appreciate you both. Please don't forget to go ahead and follow Plastic Labs, follow Honcho.dev on the X, start the repository, and we will see you next time. I hope that you come back after. We'll see what's next, but this is very, very interesting. I can't wait to see what the community builds with it. So thank you both for being here.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
All right, friends. So I'm going to leave you with an aspirational video because I want to inspire you. No, it's not inspiration. I want to challenge you to go join this Discord, go take a look at the repository. And then after you watch this video and you're so inspired and excited about the Copilot CLI, you build that plugin. And then I'll invite you to come and show me what you built here. So do that, please, because that's my workhorse right now. It's free. It's free. And if you manage your context and your tokens correctly, and it sounds like Honcho can help you do some of that, you'll go a long way with it. So I appreciate you all. Thank you for joining Open Source Friday yet again. Catch you online. I'm A Columbia Dev in all places. Don't forget to follow folks from the Honcho team and Plastic Labs. Go play with all these goodies. And if you're building, take advantage of that startup offer. You wouldn't believe the stories that come out from folks that just take advantage of the startup offers that many companies have. So if you haven't looked into it, we also have a GitHub for Startups program. Go take a look at that. Now look at this promo and go build me that plugin. Take care. See you next week for another Open Source Friday.